What is happening? It's your boy Roy, and it's another episode of Sync Gems. Pow, pow, pow. This time you see me. This is gonna be a one take. I'm not editing this. It's gonna be unfiltered and bold. There's a lot I want to share with you today, and a big thing is I want to set the stage. I've done my first EP for Sync in 2017, right? Or 18, something like that, along these years. Then I left the Sync world. What happened was I started seeing checks coming in. Those who don't know, started seeing checks coming in for a few $100 every time. And I was like, well, that's not life-changing money. I'm not going to keep doing this. But then one day, a big chunk of money came to me only through this one EP. Apparently what happened was this song was placed in a big French show. And as you know, for PROs like BMI and ASCAP or in the Americas, it takes time to collect from Europe. So there was a huge backlog that came in once, and it was about $6,000 in one payment from only 2 tracks that were performing and again and again and again. Now it's not life-changing money, but for me being in Bali, it's wow, it was a big chunk of cash for me. And it made me understand the power of Sync and what would have happened if I would have continued to create music for Sync at this time. I don't know, but here we are, in hindsight, 2020. So smart, so wise. So I kept on going. I got back to Sync in 2021, and I've been going super hard at it. Like I've been really, really doing this a lot, all the time, to be honest, every day in the past 3-4 years. So what I'm bringing it back to is now 2025. And again, I haven't seen that big number from royalties. I've seen some really, really nice upfront payments. Last year, I've seen a bunch of ad work. So that paid the bills for me, which was amazing. It more than paid the bills. It enabled me to save some money too. But what has happened this year has been truly amazing. And that's what I'm going to get into, because I know that there are people who need to hear and understand about this. So before we get into it, there's a free PDF that if y'all haven't downloaded, I want you to download. It's called 11 Gems to a Successful Sync Career. And I've created it for the up and coming composer and also for composers who are up there. It's just 11 principles that I've gotten from the amazing guests that were here on the podcast. And I found a lot of commonalities within these, and I want you to get it easily. So that's what I created it for. Go to roymatz.com/gemspdf and wow, my English is awful today. You put your email there and you get the gems. Easy. Well, let's get into it. I've just started tracking my placements, and when I say I started tracking my placements, I put in track Q. No, it's called track, TRQK. I don't know how they pronounce it. Track IQ, something like that. And I started tracking my placements. And what happened was a really interesting thing, because most of the things that are tracked are things from the last year. Like most of the things that perform, I'm talking, some things are on reruns maybe 20 times a day. So I know of 150 in the last month, but I know there's much more because I also didn't put all my tracks in the track queue because I paid only for 100 tracks and I have more than that. Anyhow, what has happened was I started realizing something really cool. And what this really cool thing is, I'm repeating, most of the placements that are detected in the last month are from tracks that I've created in the past year. Now, what does it mean? What are the implications? Why does it fire me up to say that to you? It fires me up because that helps me understand that the tracks that are doing most of the work for me are tracks that are placed because of great choices that I've made. Whoa. Now that was a long one. I'm going to elaborate on that. What does that mean? I've made choices in the past year to collaborate with people, to work with people on things, to work with different labels on things. But in the past year, I've made really sound decisions on who I want to work with and what I want to narrow down on. The second I was able to do that, and I mean, I'm still doing it. It's like every day. It's an everyday act, right? Like, because every day I'm making music. So every day I choose what music to make. And now I feel like in the past year, I've kind of had this umbrella of really great people that I know that I can send music to, which provides me with options and opportunities. Now, aside from these core connections that I've made over the last 5 years, people start to hit me up, right? Because I've done all this work of reaching out to a lot of people, working with a lot of people, a lot of composers, a lot of labels. In the past year or so, let's say year and a half, people have started reaching back out to me and asking me to work on projects for bigger labels than I was able to reach out to. So it was, I had so many no brainers in the last year of like a label hitting me up going, "Hey, we wanna do an album with you for BMG." Bet, like I'm in. What do you need from me? And then we just go in. There's a no brainer. It's literally like these moments where my mind goes into complete neutral, shuts off, goes like, I don't care about the upfront. I don't care about all these things. I know that this album is going to work. And let me let me give you another example of that. I've had a composer that I've been in touch with from Israel for a while. I've let him. I went to his studio actually. He let me hear his stuff. I let him hear my stuff. We are like, man, we got to work on something. And then, like, just so you see how far networks go, he reached out to somebody who uh, um who was working with a big library called Sky, that some of you should know about it. Anyway, Sky reached out to him and needed exactly what I do. And then this composer that I went to his studio went like, "Whoa, I got the perfect fit for it because this dude can also doesn't only lay vocals, but he can also produce the track. He can make us a skeleton of what a hip hop trailer would look like, and then we can finesse it." And then we started working with this workflow. We got this workflow going where I make the skeleton with my vocals, uh, good vocals, right? Everything laid basically. Maybe I need to record a little bit after that, but we found that groove of me doing the skeleton, me doing the first draft version of the song, but it makes enough sense for them to start working on, and then they chip away on it. So we've established a workflow, and now these three tracks, mm, I wouldn't say outperform everything, but they are in the top for sure because they are just in promos, they're everywhere. And even though they're not with my vocals, even, but it just feels so great to have this collaboration, which was a no-brainer and did stretch me a little bit. It did take me out of my comfort zone because it's a collaboration between three people. That can get pretty chaotic, I feel like, if egos are involved, but luckily they weren't involved. I'm gonna take a sip here. Ah, that creatine morning coffee. Anyway, hit me up if you want more details about that. Now, take my course if you wanna know more about my creatine coffee. Hmm. The creatine actually drowned to the bottom of the coffee, so yeah, you might not want to take my course about that. Anyway, what I want to get back to is that the things that I thought would be the biggest earners for me in the beginning were far from it. They were just opportunities where I was like, yes, in the moment and just grinded it out. Um, I had another album, which was a hell yes. I made it. It took the company like years to put it out. It was a whole thing, but it didn't perform. It didn't do anything. So I'm just saying, like, that was another hell yes that didn't do anything. But I've had so many hell yes moments that there were these moments that just have created a snowball effect. I'll give you another example. So another one, another person who I've been following and actually been mentored slightly from by one day, just because I kept in touch with that person and kept myself in his mind, kept posting, kept myself out there, which is another thing you should do. Always keep yourself out there so people see that you are still in the pool, you know? If you're under the water, nobody sees you're in the pool. But if you keep your head above it, people see you're there. Now, you want that because when people see that you're splashing or people see that you're going up or they'll maybe swim to you and ask you, hey man, you wanna swim with me a little bit? And then they go do their thing, but they see you. So you make yourself seen, and then the people who need to approach you, and that's the story of my life. Basically, is I just kept myself above the water, which maybe isn't a recommended Gary V strategy because you have to be a freaking bulldozer to succeed in life. But to me, it really works well because I'm working, I'm grinding, I'm moving in a direction. And people see it and say, "Hey, I see you." And what happened was, for me, it was phenomenal because people started saying that to me, and then they were like, and another example, last year, I made a track and it went on, and I made myself seen. I made a track with this producer. Track was put out on Universal, and now I've made a whole album for Universal. So it's like little trickles that create something that is bigger, but you have to catch the trickles first in this world, especially in sync. I feel like this is a huge, amazing metaphor for sync, the trickle effect. You start with these little trickles, and then you're connected to a company. And then what happened with this company that is affiliated to Universal is that I met the dudes in PMC. Then they connected an email to a face, a voice to a face, and they were like, "Whoa!" Literally, they told me, "Whoa, we thought the dude that was rapping was black." And then they were like, "Oh shit, man, let's do an album." That was last PMC, and I mean, like last year, not this year. We worked on an album that kind of, it took a while, but in the end, right now, that trickle from last year, they put a face to a name. We actually became friends, and now we're not only putting an album with Universal, but also we're we're preparing for the future. We're kind of planning excitedly for what will happen in the future, and I am super stoked to work with these guys because they are amazing individuals. I can talk with them about life for hours. These are the humans I want to be speaking to, people who are who are outgoing, who are amazing, but who also take care of their lives. That's a goal I've set to myself. When I was super duper broke in America, in Austin, I said, I want to work with people who inspire me. I want to work with people I love on projects that I love. And that's what's been happening. And that's what's been transpiring in the last year. And that's been so, so amazing and gratifying because I never forgot to be seen first, but also I never forgot my what I'm in this for. And that's it's just been amazing because more and more people have been coming to me in the pool and like swimming with me a little bit. And then another track has been put in Universal this year for me. And this track has been basically right now, it's rocking sometimes 20 times a day. 20 times a day it's on TV somewhere. And it's just crazy in my opinion. And the reason I'm saying that is I had to make a few hundred tracks for this to happen because some would say, most people would say, yeah, you have to have a few hundred tracks in circulation for you to start really making steady living out of this. And I think that's super correct. And I also think that you working on the next tracks is also just building that up for you to be able to have these opportunities. You're putting yourself out there. Again, the pool analogy. When you're making a track, you're putting yourself a little bit out of this pool again and again and again and again. And then you find yourself in places that you wouldn't otherwise be in, if that makes sense. If you made a track a month. Like that's not really it's not really going to pay the bills for you if you make a track a month. It's just like I'm sorry. It's just what it is. And that's just been fundamental for me, being able to immerse myself and also to keep putting these things out, keep chipping away, putting a story here, a story there, a success story here, a little post over there. And for me, LinkedIn has been super great for all these things. Another thing I wanna talk about is as you keep going, you understand, or you know what? Let me rephrase that. As I keep going, I understand that there are people who give me their opinion, unsolicited advice that I don't respect. And it's not to say these people aren't amazing. It's just I don't respect these people yet. So understand that when you get unsolicited advice and you're like, meh, and then later it falls like there's something that some opportunity that could have come because of that advice, and then you say, damn, I was so stupid. You weren't stupid, you just didn't respect that person. And I think that it's a great way to actually survive in any industry is take advice from people who you respect. And the likelihood of a success story happening somewhere there, not only is it higher in my opinion, but also it's so much more gratifying to, again, I repeat that again and again on this podcast, but it's so much more gratifying to win with people you like, with your, especially if it's your people who you've become homies with, who you've become friends with. My biggest thing, my biggest, I guess, break, no, not break. What stopped me and still stops me till this day is that I suspect, like I have this Jewish suspicion in everything that comes my way. It's like, this is a little bit too good to be true. What's their interest? What's this? What's that? And I find that as when I keep that in check, amazing things happen. So like when people want something that is mine and I'm curious about it and I feel good about it, and then we get this project going, even if it takes the project 2 years to come out, I'm wholeheartedly happy with how this project went, and I keep trucking. So I want to move on to the next point because we're hitting the 20-minute mark and I don't want to talk too much. Is strategy. Strategy is freaking important. And my strategy has been libraries. This is what I've adopted as my strategy for a long-term income, because I know that my tracks will be pitched in 10 years in some companies. And that to me is sustainable. That to me is worth working for, and is actually, it's feasible. It's feasible, and I can see the growth. And a lot of people say it, and I believe that to be true, where in in libraries it's just like it's like Derek Jones says it. You start with a little subtle current, and then it grows, and then you find yourself making real money out of it, but it doesn't happen in a day. And I feel like a lot of other ways of doing it are more like, yeah, don't give your rights, don't give this, don't give that. And mm, I've seen people who have done well with that strategy. I know a few people who are doing well with that strategy, but I don't know. I don't know enough for it. I'm not in a community that is that has enough people who are really making significant, steady income from doing that placement thing, like that. Boom, one placement, two placement, three. Some have it, but they are anomalies. And with libraries, it's not anomalies who make the real money. It's just the grinders. And I'm a grinder, which, yeah, it doesn't sound really amazing with the connotation it brings me. But anyway, I grind. I love putting out work. I love just chipping away. Everyone who knows me knows that my consistency is my power, is my superpower. Is that I can I can wake up, and it doesn't matter what happens. I show up for my craft, which is my strategy. I just chip in. I go one, two, three, four, five, and then I found, like, this year I made over 50 tracks now, and I'm shooting for 60 till the end of the month, for reality. And I've actually started seeing placements from that from June. I think May, June, I've started making tracks for them, maybe April. Anyway, less than 8 months ago, and I started seeing placements, which is just like, if you think about it, it's so, so crazy. It's so great to be able to see your music on TV after less than 8 months that you've created that. It's just so, it's so great. And the reason it happened was because I chose to work with a company, and the company was right. And I was right for them. I was a good fit for them. And then what I made fit their needs. In the moment, boom, they have it placed in a bunch. I don't even know. Like, at this point, I've made so many tracks for them. I haven't put them all to be tracked, but I know they've started to work for me. So your strategy will be everything. And to have a strategy, you have to have people you trust from the outside that can look from the outside in and tell you, hey, this ain't good. Like, this sounds like shit, actually. Or this is not syncable. Like, you're doing abstract jazz. Yeah, you can maybe score a soul 2 placement if that ever comes out. Or, like, yeah, there's something really niche of a jazz bar from the 20s or whatever, or from the 50s if you do smooth jazz. And it can also it can only go a certain length. But if you make lo-fi slash like neo soul, now it feels to me like it's coming back. So maybe you take these jazz instrumentals and create and give it to a producer that will sample them. Or you do amazing orchestrations. You can give it to a trailer composer and collaborate that way. Like, super, like, niche down, and again, have people from the outside that can bring you over that threshold of 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 asking yourself what your superpower is, to saying, oh shit, this is what I need to do right now. And that's what I've been lucky to have only in the last 2 years, and I want to be able to give it to others. So that's why I've started coaching other people, because I love pointing other people to these aha moments, to these moments of, oh, this needs to be my lane, you know? And I've done that quite a few times. So shameless plug, like, hit me up if you want to do it. If you want to do a one-on-one, I do 4 weeks immersions, one-on-ones, where I give you like, I help you with strategy, listen to your tracks, and cut the fat, because I came into this sync world with a lot of fat, like, that I needed to cut. And I know that if I had the mentorship from day one, I wouldn't, I would be today. I wouldn't tell you about 150 placements a month. I would tell you about 600. That's fine. Again, hindsight 2020. But if you want to coach with me, just hit me up. You can go to my website at roymatz.com/work, and we can figure out a way for us to make this happen. Guys, I hope this was great for y'all. Hit me up on socials. Hit me up on Tinder, on Grindr, on Bumble, on... I'm just joking. Hit me up on probably LinkedIn or Instagram would be great, at Roy Matz or at Sync Gems. If there's anything you've taken you want to share, let me know. Share it with your friends. Please, please, please rate the podcast if you haven't yet. And I will see you here on the next one with a guest. And I love y'all. Peace.